In this video, let us understand how we can launch an EC2 instance from a launch template. Recently, there was an update from the AWS which mentioned that going forward, whenever you start creating a new account from the June, you'll not be able to create the EC2 instance from the console. That means in the future, launching an instance from the launch template will be a default one. So to ensure that we are future ready whenever we are using the AWS for the workloads, it is very important that we understand how we can use this compute service, which is a most commonly used service, that is the EC2, how we can launch it from a launch template. Now, as you know, when we talk about EC2, so for the demonstration purpose, I'm going to launch an EC2 instance. Okay, so I'll click on this EC2. This is going to start the EC2 service. Now, in order to get started and create a template, under the instances, we have something called as launch template. And through this interface, we can create a launch template. And once we create a launch template, we can then go ahead and create an instances from the launch template. Now, first and foremost, you need to refer to the documentation page to understand some of the restrictions that you need to consider whenever you are using this launch template. See, if you look into the documentation, it said that when you are working with the launch template, so refer to the launch template, there is a service quotas that you have to check. Under this service quota, it clearly says that you can have maximum up to 5,000 launch templates per region. Okay, that is what it says right now, and you can have 10,000 versions per launch template. So you can check out the same under this service quota. You can go ahead and click on the AWS services and select the EC2, and from here you can go ahead and check out for the instances, that is the quota that has been set up. Now in my case, you can clearly observe that the launch template, there are 5,000 is the applied quota in my account. Now if I want, for my own purpose, I can go ahead and request the same as well. It looks like this quota is not adjustable, which is not possible according to this AWS. In some cases, if it is possible, maybe you can request the quota increase as well. In this case, currently there's no increase of quota is supported. That's one restriction that you need to consider. And whenever you are creating the template, so you can actually specify the parameters, and these parameters are optional and they are not validated one. And lastly, the important thing that you need to consider is the launch template is immutable, which means once you create a launch template, you cannot modify it. What it would happen is you'll be creating a new template version itself. You'll not be modifying in place, you will be creating a new version of the launch template. So these are the basics that you need to remember when you are creating this launch instances, that is the launch templates for your EC2 instances. Now that you have the basic understanding of the same, I'll begin by creating a new launch template. I'll click on create launch template. In this screen, it is asking me to specify the template name. I'm going to say YT demo. Okay. For the version description, I'm going to mention as YouTube version. Okay, and I can go ahead and add the template tags or the source template if I want to refer the source template, if I've got any, as use it as from the other existing template. Okay, I can go ahead and do that. In my case, I'm not going to specify it. Next, the important thing is OS. Okay, I can go ahead and select the recent or the quick start for the demonstration purpose. So I'll select as Amazon Linux, and here I can select an AMI. I'll select Linux to AMI. Okay, and this is going to select the AMI ID. Then we can go ahead and specify the instance type. I'll mention as t2.micro. Then I'll come down. So here, if I would require, I can specify the key pair name in this template itself. Normally it is not suggested, because when you're working, maybe for some EC2 instances, you want to use one key pair, and for the other, you want to have it as a preference. So in this case, I'll ensure that don't include in launch template. And we can also specify the network settings in case if the EC2 instances has to be launched in a specific VPN. At that time, I can select that subnet, or I can go ahead and do those settings as well, or we can create a new security group. So we can mention it as per our requirement. Okay. Now in my case, I'm not going to mention any, so I leave it up to you for your use case when you're working. Coming to the EBS volume, so you can select the EBS volume and you can mention the settings over here from the launch template. You can specify the resource tags. Okay, and you can also add the advanced details as well. You can assign an IAM instance profile for the EC2 launch template. So this would ensure that your EC2 instance will be able to communicate with the other services and call these services on your behalf. Like if you're working in a code deploy agent, so maybe you want to install the code deploy agent. At that time, the code deploy agent should communicate with S3, pick the data from S3 bucket and include it in the CI/CD pipeline. In such cases, you will assign that IAM instance profile over here. Okay, in my case, I'll leave it blank, and you can also include the user data. That means the basic installation that you want to do during the start of the initialization. Maybe you can mention all those things under the user data. You'll do the same settings. This is very similar to what we used to do in the console. Only thing is I'm creating a template. That's all. I'll click on create launch template. So this is going to create a launch template. Now, once this launch template is created, I'll come back over here and see there's a launch template that is created, YT demo. Now from here, if I want to launch an EC2 instance, I'll click on actions, launch instance from the template. Now here I've got various options. I can create spot fleet. I can create ASG, that is auto scaling group, and all those things. For keeping it simple, I'll select launch instance from template. Here I can specify the number of instances. Okay, and these are the default values that it has actually taken from my launch template. I can override it if I would require. Okay, I'll just keep the one which is I have set earlier. Now for this individual EC2 instance, I can go ahead and select the key pair that I have with me. Now in my case, I can create a new security group specifically for this EC2 instance launch. I can mention all those things. I can also mention the user data which I want to use it. Okay, I can mention all these things and I can select it as launch instance. So this has launched the instances for me. Now, if I come back to my EC2, select the instances, we can see that a new instances is launching and the instance type is t2.micro. So this will be the going forward way that you are expected to launch an EC2 instance in the AWS. Okay, now you can also modify this launch template. So as I mentioned, you cannot delete it. Only way that you can do is you can go ahead and click on modify template, which is like creating a new version. Okay, you can go ahead and I'll say version 2 as a v2 over here. I can modify over here. Let's say I'm going to select Linux, but this time I'll keep it as 2023 AMI. I'll keep the remaining settings as it is. I'll click on this create launch template. So now I've got a new version over here. The latest version is the version number 2. Okay, once you're done with the activity, maybe you can go ahead and delete the launch template as well. So you can click on delete template version or the template. So here I'll just click on delete template and I'll say delete. Okay, so I can just click on delete. So in this way, I can go ahead and modify the launch template and create the versions using the launch template. I can create an EC2 instances. Then once that is done, I can delete the launch templates if I do not want it. So with this, we come to the end of this video on launching the EC2 instances from the launch template. So if you're new to our channel, please consider subscribing. I look forward to seeing you next time.